I honestly think most video shoots waste so much time. If you think about it, a lot of the day is eaten up doing repetitive tasks. Whether that's swapping lenses, moving locations, re-rigging cameras, that's all valuable time, especially when you've got models, assistants, clients on set. Their time is just as valuable as yours, and most shoots end up being like 70% setup and 30% even less time spent actually rolling. Wasting time on set is one of my biggest pet peeves, and on larger productions with like 15 plus people, obviously some of that is pretty unavoidable. But for smaller client shoots and personal projects, it doesn't always have to be that way. These days, the majority of my shoots only take an hour or two, and most of that time is spent rolling. Over time, I've built a system that allows me to stay efficient while on set, but still allows for those creative, unplanned moments to still come through. Here's exactly how I plan and organize my shoots while allowing me to move fast without sacrificing quality. Okay, so the key to moving efficiently while on set is obviously in the pre-production, the entire planning phase. It took me a long time to grumpily accept that proper planning allows for a really streamlined process when you're actually shooting and just saves a lot of headache. Indecision, or the time spent thinking about little minute tasks, things that are repeatable, are what really kills the amount of time that you spend on set. So clearly planning is important, but how do you go about planning? Well, the first thing I like to do is, before I go out and shoot, is obviously I like to think about where I'm going to shoot and the locations that I'm going to choose for this production. A term that is often used in the filmmaking industry is a recce, or a location scout. This is basically where you go to a location, or you can use Google Maps, and just figure out where you want to shoot on production day. This leads me into my first mode of organization, or how you go about planning your shoots, and that's by grouping by location. So moving spots between shoots, going to one spot and then going to a second spot and then going back to that spot, that's one of the biggest time killers when you're thinking about your various production schedules. When I'm thinking about a shoot in the order of shots, the location plays a huge role in deciding the flow of your production day. So basically, once you've got your storyboard built out for your ideal production, your ideal video, the next thing that I like to do is go ahead and group the locations that each shot happen in. So let's say I'm going to do a shoot in downtown Shibuya, and I've got 5 major locations that I want to film at. I'm gonna go through my storyboard and select all of the shots in each of these locations and basically just group them together. Then once I've figured out basically all the shots that I need in each location, I'm just gonna map out my mode of transportation that's most efficient to each of these spots. I'm not gonna go zigzagging across town. I'm gonna find the most efficient path between these 5 locations to ensure that I minimize the amount of time spent traveling between each location. Let's say you're doing a much smaller production, like in a park. Then I'll treat each area of the park as a separate location. So let's say there's like a bench, then there's a tree, and then there's a fence. I'm gonna treat each of these areas as a separate location, and then I'm going to group all the shots that I need at each location so that when I get to that location, I can just nail through each of these shots on my shot list and really minimize the amount of time spent thinking about what shots I need to capture at each location. Once I've fully cleared each location, then it's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next location, and this just streamlines everything. It keeps peace of mind while on set, and it also gives you confidence that once you've gone through your shot list and perhaps you wanna adjust and add a couple different shots, you have that ability because you have confidence that you've corrected everything, you filled out everything out on your shot list, and then you can move on to the next location. Once I've grouped everything by location, the next thing I like to do is go ahead and group everything by lens choice. Lens swaps are a huge time sink here. Every time you switch out lenses, that takes off precious time. You're rethinking about how you're framing, and it just overall slows down your production by a lot. So very similar to my shot list by location, the next thing I'm gonna do is go through my location and figure out which shots I need for each lens choice. Let's say I've got 3 lenses planned. I've got a super wide, a 10mm, I've got a medium 35mm, and then I've got some tight macro shots. I'm then gonna organize my shot list into these 3 separate lens types. That way I can go ahead and just knock out all of the 10mm super wide shots. I can then get into my tight kind of medium 35mm shots, and I can finish just knocking out all of my macro shots. When you start playing around with things, you can actually kind of get creative and figure out, okay, on this location, I'm only gonna use this one sort of lens. And then on this other location, while I'm moving between sets, I'm gonna switch out my other lens so that by the time I get to my second location, my lens is already prepped, I'm ready to go by the time we get there, and you can figure out nifty ways to save extra time. Before I hop into the next section, let me take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Artlist. So I'm sure by now you know about Artlist. They have an amazing library of sound effects, visual assets, and a bunch of other things that really help creators like you and me. Recently, they just added something really interesting that'll help speed up your workflow overall. The update comes to the AI image and video generator. It's super simple. You upload a single image, write a short prompt, and Artlist can animate that photo into a full video clip with camera movement, lighting effects, and motion. They even give you a suggested prompt, or you can write your own. I've used this here to animate a reference photo I took of Tokyo Tower, and it's interesting to see how you can use this to generate reference videos for your next storyboard. If you're location scouting or building a pitch, you can just take a photo of a building or a set idea and instantly turn it into a moving cinematic shot to show the client or build a vibe for the shoot. It's a huge time saver when you want to prototype shots, generate B-roll, or just spark new ideas without filming anything. That means fewer surprises on the day of shoot, faster decisions, and more time actually rolling the camera. If you want to try it out for yourself, I'll link Artlist down below. It's included with their AI suite, so you can start experimenting right away. Thanks again to Artlist for sponsoring today's video. Once I finish organizing everything by lens selection, the final thing I like to do is organize by rig setup. Again, the concept is exact same as a lens and location. You're basically going to want to go through your shot list and figure out which scenes require the same rig. Rig can basically just mean, like, let's say I have some gimbal scenes. So I'm going to group all my gimbal scenes into, as much as possible, a concise list at each location, or perhaps I'm going to get all of my gimbal scenes done at one single location. Let's say I have some snorri cam scenes, or I want to do some like locked off tripod shots. It's all about just organizing everything so that when you set up your rig, you only have to do it once or twice, or you're very streamlined in the way that you actually set up everything so that you don't have to do things multiple times in multiple different locations over and over again. One thing I like to do when I'm setting up my shot list, anytime I think about a gimbal shot or a slow, steady shot, I'll oftentimes write down only one single lens type for that shot. More often than not, I'm doing a lot of gimbal shots for my social stuff on the 10mm lens. And so I'm not going to try and do a lot of different focal lengths when I'm doing my gimbal shots. I'm just going to go ahead and shoot all of my gimbal shots or all of my smooth motion scenes at that single focal length, in this case, a 10mm lens, so that on shoot day, I don't have to switch out lenses and recalibrate my gimbal. It just saves a lot of time. And the final step of my system, and this is where a lot of people rush and forget about, is I like to build in freestyle time. I always make sure to build in 15, 20, sometimes maybe even just 5 minutes at each location after I've got through my entire shot list. Basically, I like to call this freestyle time. And I like to go out with my talent, my actor, and with whatever lens I've got on, just try to find whatever cool angles I can and just click record. I'll grab random textures, little motion whip pans, and a lot of some of my favorite shots have come during these freestyle periods. It's really key here, especially for me, to have these low expectation, low pressure moments within shoots to have fun and keep shoots really fun, really organic. A lot of times when the talent or model and you explain to them that now we're just gonna try some stuff, freestyle and have fun, this really opens up both you and the model to really get creative, really express yourselves. And it's one of my favorite periods of shooting, and I always make sure to create freestyle time within shoots where applicable to really get creative. And yeah, by using this simple method, I've found to save a lot of time on my productions, whether that's for client shoots or for personal projects. Instead of dragging through shoots, oftentimes I can just get to location, start shooting, go through my shot list, really have time for creative input as well, and basically not feel drained and have a great time throughout the whole process. And it's really been a fantastic way to streamline and keep myself organized while on shoots. Again, grouping by location, batching by lens, rig type, and then finally creating freestyle moments at the very end of each location to really stay creative and have fun while shooting. If you have any questions on this particular method, or if you have any recommendations or any variations on how you go about planning your shoots, please share them down below in the comments. It'd be really helpful for the community and myself, as I always love to learn and try out new things. As always, if you want to check out my LUTs, my PowerGrade, my sound effects, I've got a creator media kit template. It'll be all linked down below in my shop. Please check them out. It really supports the channel. Thanks as always for watching to the very end. If you made it this far, leave the word freestyle down in the comments below so that I know you're a real one. I'll see you guys in the next one.